I don't know about you guys, but I love myself Christmas. It is my favorite time of year. December is my favorite month, and hell, you can even tell in the background here, like I got my Christmas decorations up, and I have this entire week so far because I love the season. I also love myself a good Christmas movie. Okay, the original Santa Claus with Tim Allen, not exactly a great movie. I came to that stark realization a few years ago when it was one of those things. Ever since it came out, every year, I'm pretty sure every stable family has a tradition of sitting down and watching one movie every year. And for us and for my family, that was the Santa Claus. Okay, we didn't go ever since it had its home release. We had gone every single year. Had the VHS. I got a Blu-ray copy of that, but we slapped it in a couple of years ago, and I was watching that, and it's like, holy God, this is awful. And since then, well, we kind of switched it up to Christmas Vacation, another classic. I love that movie. It's I came out a year before I was born or something like that, and it's evergreen comedy that I still think about throughout the year. There's so many memorable lines on that one, but I love it. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. It's like it's the holiday to end all holidays. It's got the best media. It's got the best atmosphere. There's nothing to or rather, there's nothing better than a good old-fashioned family Christmas. I love it. I love it. So whenever I see anybody try to get into the spirit, whenever I see a movie come out, it's like I might be a little bit more kind to it because, it's got that Christmas veneer over top of it. And then when I see this pile of garbage come out, it even pierced my Christmas cheer and ended up exposing my cold, gray, 3 sizes too small heart, because we got to at least start off on a W here, because Red One ends up dethroning Venom's Reign of Terror at top of the box office. Because, bro, for a movie that everybody said was shit and this thing wouldn't have legs, it was just for a sheer lack of competition, and because Hollywood, it's really dying very, very quickly. It's made over $400 million, which is absolutely insane. Back to Red One here for a second. Well, actually for the rest of this video, because it's going to open in 4,032 theaters, taking a whole lot of screens away from The Last Dance, which is honestly going to end up hurting the Hollywood bottom line. So yes, after 3 weeks of dominating the box office, Venom The Last Dance will take a back seat as this weekend's newcomer takes center stage, while the third installment has yet to be as successful as its predecessors, is nevertheless added to $400 million globally to the Venom franchise, propelling it to $1.76 billion across all 3 films, with $406.44 million coming from the latest feature. Taking the top spot this weekend is Red One, latest holiday action comedy starring The Rock, one of the most overrated, egotistical actors of all time. That's not necessarily fair, okay? Because you see his interactions and you hear people talk about him. It's normally with vacuous praise, like, oh my God, he's such a great guy, okay? He'll always listen to whatever you have to say, especially when you hear modern day wrestler, the Fed, talk about it. It's like, oh man, he's always willing to lend an ear, give advice, just a great guy. And it's like I roll my eyes in perpetuity because I was watching the Fed back when it was hot, okay? When Austin, Taker, Kane, Mankind, all of those guys were there riding high at the time, but The Rock, he was never high up on my list of favorites, okay? He was always second, third, fourth, fifth rate, especially because, squaring off against Austin. Like, bro, how can you not cheer for Austin? It's like that guy's charisma incarnate. And eventually when you see through The Rock is just simply a catchphrase encyclopedia, and his promos don't really hold water, especially when you compare them to the greats. You have to fall back on his ring work in order to put him in any kind of a conversation, and then you just have to show anyone a gif of the world's shittiest sharpshooter, and it's like, why do people give him so much praise? All right, because he was saying bitch and shit, and especially when he came back for his most recent run, when he was the only guy that was allowed to say that type of stuff, and he got an artificial edge just because of that, because so many people were desperate for a little bit of controversy in an otherwise sanitized product. But I digress. When I say he's the most egotistical person in Hollywood, I'm just saying that the brand, because that's basically what he is, the brand of The Rock as a Hollywood megastar, he thinks himself well above his station. Because he's kind of like Avatar, James Cameron's James Cameron's franchise, okay? He's somebody who makes a lot of money, but you don't remember a goddamn thing about anything that they did, okay? Because he was in 2 Jumanji movies, okay? But everybody remembers the Robin Williams one, but can anybody tell me anything about the 2 that he was in? He hopped on the moving bandwagon that was the Fast and the Furious franchise, and shit is about as disposable as his run that he had with John Cena in the mid-2000s, mid-2010s. But he just continues to work, which is something that I appreciate about him. I love the work ethic. And the fact that he doesn't need the money, but he consistently goes out there and secures W's for himself. I love to see it. Just hate the artificial nature about his presentation. And that's what a lot of people are coming around to, because this movie right here, oh boy, it's going to do a lot. It's going to do a lot to send him crying back to the Fed. And it's something about, naming any of his projects Red something, because there was Red Notice a couple years ago with Gal Gadot's cardboard cutout acting ass, and Chris Evans, who is, funnily enough, in Red 1 as well. That was the highest budgeted Netflix film ever, but because it didn't go to the box office, nobody really seen it for the bomb that it was. But this time around, this one right here, okay, because Red 1, yeah, there's a reason that it's getting over 4,000 screens for a Christmas movie. Albeit, although it has like a very, very, very talented cast of characters, okay? J.K. Simmons, Lucy Liu, Chris Evans, like there's a lot of star power, theoretical star power that's getting thrown around on this one, but it all comes down to the script. It all comes down to the execution, and well, something got executed. It sure as hell wasn't the script, because yeah, you got early reviews rolling in on this one, because yeah, by the time that you guys see this movie, it'll be in its opening weekend, and not good. Not good so far, okay? And especially when you look at international releases, ooh, not doing well at all, okay? Now, it's a very small sample size, but this thing needs to make a lot of money. It needs to make a lot of money, bro, because it's got it's got a budget of $250 million. A Christmas movie with a budget that high? Like, bro, what are we doing out here? Oh, don't just think that, oh, Don, he's got the Rotten Tomato score pulled up. Oh, he's cherry picking his results. I mean, I could have gone as hard as I did, as Johnny Olensky did here at New York Post, who gave the movie 0 stars. Okay, for the most wonderful time of the year comes the worst movie of the year. That's Red 1, a piece of Christmas crapola starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Chris Evans. If you see it, you will regret it. Our 2 hours of holiday drear begins with a title which refers to the POTUS-like codename that the U.S. government gives Santa Claus. How magical. Kris Kringle, played by J.K. Simmons, which J.K. Simmons is like one of the best working actors in Hollywood. I just don't really know how he translates as Santa Claus, but all right. As a push-up obsessed gym rat, oh Jesus, is kidnapped after a freelance hacker named Jack, Chris Evans, inadvertently reveals the location of the North Pole to an evildoer. I mean, like, you're seeing some screenshots that are out there. It's like, okay, cool. If you got Mrs. Claus in the background right there, you might have actually had something worth recovering. But if you've got The Rock playing The Rock, and he's supposed to be head of Santa's security and needs to take on, I don't know, like a Dragon Age the Veilguard reject, like, what are we doing out here? And who greenlit this? Who thought that this would be a good idea? Well, it ends up being kind of The Rock himself, because, bro, brace for impact on this one, because this is about the dumbest shit that you are likely to ever hear, and further crystallizes my opinion that The Rock is so far out of touch with reality that he kind of does need to go back and just pretend to be the final boss of WWE, just randomly turning up with, like, this is an asshole who turns up wearing a gifted championship everywhere that he goes. Somebody who is so phony, who said, I want to get out of politics, okay, but his parting shot was endorsing Joe Biden in 2020. Very interesting. And then it didn't come out until it was behind the scenes that after Trump got shot, he asked for his number so he could go ahead and, talk with the guy himself. Like, he's such a phony, man. But he's also delusional, because Dwayne Johnson watched Oppenheimer in Christopher Nolan's IMAX seat and thought, holy shit, this technology for Red 1 is game over. What? Okay, are you coming to the conclusion that, okay, Oppenheimer is so good that it's game over for Red 1? No, it gets dumber from here. Strap in. Dwayne Johnson said a screening of Oppenheimer in IMAX inspired him to make sure his new Christmas action movie, Red 1, be able to play in a premium large format. Johnson sat in the same IMAX screening room that Christopher Nolan uses to screen his movies and was blown away by Oppenheimer. Well, okay, yeah, because Christopher Nolan is a master of his craft and utilizes every single inch of that technology available to him. I would imagine that, yeah, Oppenheimer would likely blow you away. Naturally, Johnson thought, if Red 1 utilizes the same IMAX technology, oh, you missed the point. It could be game over. Okay, with Red 1, our intention was to make a movie that you can enjoy on the biggest screen possible. For as much as I love Christmas movies, they're seasonal and hokey. Like, let's not pretend you're making fine art here. You're making a passable holiday fare. But okay, Johnson recently, yes, told IMAX in a video interview, legitimately, the biggest screen possible are IMAX. Yes, we know. I was midway through shooting Red 1. I had the opportunity to see Oppenheimer. I watched in IMAX theater where Christopher Nolan watches and screens his movies. Him and Emma Thomas, his wife, and I even asked to let me sit where Chris sits, and they said Chris sits here, and I said okay, and that's where Chris sits, and I said that's where Chris sits. Okay. Johnson continued. I watched Oppenheimer. It was amazing, but I was thinking, holy shit, Red 1 on this screen, and with this technology, could you smell what I'm cooking here? It could be game over. What? Remember texting director Jake Kasdan a picture of my bare chest? What the fuck? And a picture of the screen, and we realized how cool IMAX would be. Well, that is a level of narcissism that is very rarely breached. Yo, so I'd like texted a dude a picture of my pecs, and I said, yo, that on IMAX, and he's like, bet. What? Oh, Lord. Fortunately, it doesn't appear the Red 1 is turning into an IMAX-sized event like Oppenheimer. Oh, shucks. Just barely missed the bandwagon on that one. Nolan directed World War II epic. Is that the way that you want to go with? It's normally biopic epic, but okay. Earned nearly $1 billion at the worldwide box office. Red 1, very likely, has earned $26 million, and that's the launch at the international markets. And this weekend, not really on track to make that much. Tracking for a $20 million opening, meaning that it's going to end up losing a few $100 million. But hey, at least The Rock thought that it was a good idea. At least Jake Kasdan got a picture of The Rock's nipple. That's a thing that you can brag about. Holy shit. This is the reason why the Hollywood star is dying. This is the reason why Hollywood is dying, because delusional assholes get applauded for being delusional assholes. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.